Roughly 1/3 of Americans report worrying. I bet that number is a whole lot higher right now. Hey everybody, and welcome back to my channel where you are what matters. If you haven't already, go ahead down and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Today we're going to be talking about worry and how you can stop doing that so much. I looked this up, and the word worry comes from an old Germanic word that means to strangle. If that doesn't accurately describe how it feels to worry, I don't know what does. On top of the fact that worrying feels awful and gets you nowhere, it can also turn into a thought habit, which means that every time you get a spare moment, that's the direction that your thoughts will go. And given our current situation, if you weren't already worrying a lot of the time, you probably are now. And it's not going to get any better if you just keep worrying. The thing is that you don't just stop worrying. You don't go from worrying to stop worrying. That's not the opposite. The opposite of worrying is mindfulness. The first step into fighting the pattern that is worry is to not fight the worry. I know it sounds silly, but in all the times that you've ever been worried about something and somebody told you, don't worry, it'll be fine, how effective was that? Did it stop you from worrying? Think about it this way. If I told you right now, don't think about a white bear, how long would it be before a polar bear popped into your head? Our brains don't not think about things. Trying to not think about something means that it's always somewhere in your brain. It's sitting in the sidelines, waiting to jump back into the game. Pushing those thoughts to the side actually gives them more power. It's basically like saying, if I think about those things, then they will control me. Except they already are. Now, this might be some kind of temporary fix if you just tried to get through a day or a week about something that you were worried about. It's rarely just one thing that you're worried about, and oftentimes it's not something that's only going to be to the end of the day or the end of the week. The problem really comes when those thoughts come back, when they do get to rush back on the field, they come back stronger and with what psychologists call stickiness. They tend to hang around even longer than they did before, and they're going to be even stronger. This is not the goal. So if you can't fight the worry and you can't push the thoughts off to the sidelines, the thing that you have to do instead is to accept the worry. This is not meant to sound as defeatist as it does. I'm not talking about accepting that this is who you are and you're going to worry like this for the rest of your life. All I'm saying here is simply acknowledge the fact that you have worries and that you need to deal with them. Much like one of the stages of grief is simply accepting that your loved one or the thing that you lost is now gone. Accepting it is really the first stage to being able to then deal with those emotions. Notice that in none of that statement did I say that you are worried. What I'm trying to say with this is that you have worries, that you are worrying, but you are not worried. You are not that emotion. This is going to come down to a basic fault of the English language when I say this, but the way that we phrase things unfortunately causes us to identify as our problem. If I say, I am anxious, I am worried, I am depressed, it's defining who I am. I am not my worries. I am not my depression. I am not my anxiety. I have those things. I have to accept those things. I need to deal with those things, but they are not who I am. So the whole point here is the next time that you find yourself worrying, try to take a mental step back. Accept that those are worries, that they are thoughts, and examine them for what they are. A lot of them are telling us a whole bunch of BS stories of stuff that ain't never going to happen. And you are wasting precious energy giving them any kind of power over you. Instead, what you're going to do is use your new ninja skill of mindfulness and switch your thoughts to something else. This is the most important, and it's also the hardest because it involves actually facing the worries and trying to actively move your mind to something else. This takes time, it takes practice, and it takes energy, but it will be so worth it because you will be spending your energy switching your brain to something positive instead of getting sucked into the worry trap. Now, these two mindfulness techniques will help you both be able to change your thought patterns and move them to something else, but they'll also help you get control of any physical symptoms that may have cropped up while you were worrying. The first way that I like to do this is to become intently aware of your surroundings. When we worry, we tend to be thinking about what might be happening. We don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen, and there's no way to tell. So just sitting there worrying about it won't fix it, but it will get you riled up. What you need to do is become intently aware of the present. In order to do this, I want you to start to think about all of your senses. If you're sitting in a chair, what does that chair feel like? Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it warm? Is it cold? Then start taking a look around. What do you see? Are there people? Can you notice something outside? Are there birds? Are there animals? Is the grass a different shade of green today? Start taking some deep breaths. Is there anything that you smell? Do you have some food or drink that you could focus your energy on and try to bring yourself back to the present moment? Make a game of it. Come up with a number like 5. What are 5 things that you can see? 5 things that you can hear? 5 things that you could smell, touch, or taste? That technique is really helpful for getting your mind under control and sucking it back from the future that it is so concerned about. If you're also having physical symptoms, then you can also be doing a breathing exercise which will help calm down your nervous system. The first breathing exercise is the candle exercise. It's candle breath. Imagine holding a candle out in front of you, and you're going to inhale deeply and slowly blow out and try to get the candle to flicker but not extinguish. And once you have done several of those breaths, then inhale deeply and force as much air out as you can, like you're blowing out birthday candles. The second one is called box breathing, and I just talked about this in my previous stress relief video, and I'll link that up in the comments if you need help with other stress relief techniques. But the exercise is very simple and you can do it anywhere. The first step is to inhale for 4 seconds, hold your breath for 4 seconds, exhale for 4 seconds, and then wait to inhale again for 4 seconds. If you don't like either of those exercises or they don't speak to you, just go ahead and Google breathing techniques. There are tons and tons and tons of them out there, and I'm sure that you will find one that works. The great thing is that breathing and focusing on it is basically meditation. So this is going to help both your mind and your body calm down. If the worrying happens to be so ingrained to the point that you just worry whenever you have a free moment to think, even the redirection and the breathing and all of that isn't necessarily working for you, and you still find that you have worries a lot of the time, then you might actually need to set up time to worry. If you are worrying basically 24 hours a day, it's a lot better to condense those worries down to, say, a half hour than it is to worry for the entire day. Basically, you are pushing the thoughts off to the side until you give yourself a dedicated time to worry about them. You might keep a notebook with you, and whenever something comes up that's bothering you, you will literally say, "I'll worry about that later," and write it down. Then you give yourself 30 minutes, don't make it any longer than that, 30 minutes to write in a journal about your worries. When the 30 minutes are up, you're going to put away your worry journal, and that's it. We're done worrying for the day. If something else comes up that you want to worry about, then you're going to put it on your list to worry about tomorrow. What this can do is actually contain the worry so that you're not worrying about stuff constantly all day long. But it also, because your journaling will help you work through your thoughts, it may help you be more productive with your worrying. There's worry where you just fret about things that are probably never going to happen, and there can be worry where you might actually be able to do something. If you're able to do something, you may come up with a productive solution to your problem, or you're able to gauge how you might deal with the results of the problem. Or you may come to terms with the fact that you can't actually do anything about this situation, and then you might be able to let it go. The last thing that you can do is to figure out what triggers your worry. Now, it might not be something that's ingrained like a habit, like we talked about. It might be a certain situation that caused you to worry, or it might be a certain person that has this energy that makes you worry. We don't necessarily have control of these things, but we need to figure out what is setting us off and causing us to worry so that we can try the best we can to minimize those situations. One of the things that has often sent me down the worry road has been stressing about being late. I have struggled with time management my whole life before this, and kids only made it worse. When it was just me worrying about my stuff, it was bad enough. But now I have to worry about getting them to their appointments on time. So what I had to do was realize that most of my worry happened in the car, which was caused by the stress of being late. And the thing is that once it was triggered, I would just keep going down the worry road. I would start to find something else to worry about, and those negative feelings would just feed on themselves. And I had to backtrack and realize that this all happened because I got stressed out in the car that we were going to be late. And then I had to go back and put in another 10 minutes into our schedule to make sure that we could get these kids out the door and on time. Does that always work? Of course not. Someone's always losing something or not getting dressed or not doing what they're supposed to do. However, I now know that if I get down the road to worry, that it may simply have been about being stressed about being late. And then I can take care of dealing with the stress that I had and not just let the worry consume me and start worrying about things that weren't even really bothering me that much before we left the house. All right, question of the day. What is the most common way that you use to deal with worry? And is it something that you're going to look into changing now? Let me know down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you're going to do about dealing with your worries. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead down and hit the like button. And also hit the subscribe button as well so you don't miss a video. If you're interested in more information about how to deal with your worry, go ahead down to the show notes and I'll have a link there to an article that I wrote. There'll also be a link down there to my 5 Days to Less Stress program. It's a free email series that will help you examine all of the things that are causing you stress and figure out techniques to get them off of your plate. There'll also be a link down there so that you can get on my calendar and we can chat for your free one-on-one call. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you next time.